Alright, this is the assembly instructions for the cannon. So, as I mentioned in my other videos, to get the parts out, you can either push with your thumb, you could wiggle them, or you could use your hobby knife, especially on the smaller parts like this little axle. There is an axle here. It's not an axle. It connects these three parts of the cannon together. So I don't know what you would call that. I call it an axle, but maybe it's a support beam. I don't know what you would call it. Use your hobby knife to cut the sprue where it connects, and it'll be left with a little screw mark. That's where it was connected to the sprue. So all we did was we snipped that piece and it pops right out. On this one, to identify the screw marks, as you'll see in my other videos, I say this, you look for the little white, bright white dot here, which on these is right here, and then you just cut that. Most of my items only have one sprue connector. Some will have multiple. On the circles, I think I could pop these out with my finger. I don't know. Ooh, they're jumping out. So these are the wheels for the cannon. So yeah, those came out all right. And then this, I'm going to wiggle this back and forth to get it out. There we go. So that one I'm going to have to cut that piece off. The wiggle back and forth didn't really work on that one, did it? So on this one I tried to wiggle it back and forth and it brought a piece of the sprue with it. So I'm just going to cut that sprue marker and that piece of sprue just slides right off. So there we go. Now you might want to take your hobby knife and just trim up these sprues a bit. The sprue marks where it was connected to the sprue, like this, just dig it out. This one too. You just take this hobby knife here and just trim up that sprue mark a bit. You could do that if you want, you don't have to. I would suggest at least doing it on the wheels maybe, but again, it's not entirely necessary. Next, set that bit to the side. So the next thing we're going to do for this cannon is we are going to glue the three parts of the cannon together. So the way this cannon is set up, those three notches align, and you'll notice that it has a bit of a border around it, like this. It's sort of meant to almost look three-dimensional, but not really. I mean, it's laser cut out of flat material, so it's going to look square at some point. But having that little lip like that just helps it make a little bit more 3D than normal. So those three things are going to go together. This little axle thing, or whatever you want to call it, a support beam, goes in there. So the way that I do this for the cannon, and again, you could do it different ways. I use super glue. You can use wood glue. Wood glue is much stronger than super glue. It'll hold together much longer than super glue will. The reason I use super glue is to make these videos a little bit shorter, because it takes wood glue a long time to set and cure and all that stuff. So what I do is I put glue on the cannon, and then I line the cannon faces up to where they're nice and straight. I line up these little notches to where it's nice and straight. And then once I have two of them together like that, I'll put glue inside the notch. I'll put the axle or the support structure, whatever you call it, inside the notch. And then I'll put glue on the outer, or on the other side of this interior piece of the cannon. So the cannon has two different sizes. These are the thin pieces, and this one here with the little chunk on the back up here is the middle piece, right? So the thin pieces go on the outside. So then this, I'll just slide it into that piece, line up the front of the cannon like that, to where the front is nice and square. And then this is inside of that axle, that support structure, whatever you want to call it. Just give it a nice tight squeeze on either side to get that glue in there. I'm going to set that to the side for now. Now, we're going to come over here and work on the actual base that cannon goes into. So on the base, the side pieces have planks on one side and no planks on the other side. So we are going to set it with the planks facing down. To paint these things, if you use a wood stain, it'll diminish these burn marks quite a bit so that you won't really see them. for the middle piece, we're going to put it plank side facing up. Also, the tail piece, this piece here, facing towards the small side of the side pieces. So the tail piece here goes along with the small sides. Now, I'm just going to put a dab of glue all the way down these arms. The reason we do it all the way down the arms is because next we're going to be putting the wheels on it, and the wheels go on those arms as well. And then we just lift the side up and we put it right there, this one. Lift the side up, scoot it all the way in. And there we go. Now the sides are on the piece. And we still have glue on the little tabs that stick out, and that's perfect because next go the wheels. So the wheels go on next, and those just slide in here, and slide in here. The holes on the wheels are square, the pegs are square. Square peg goes into the square hole. Pretty simple. If you want a little bit extra support to keep the whole thing together, you would put glue on the back sides of these wheels so that the wheels glue themselves to the sides of the cart. But other than that, it should be pretty solid. So now we've put the round wheels on the square pegs, and this, you can glue it down, you can not, it's up to you, but this just goes right in here, right inside of the cart. I would suggest painting the cannon black, obviously. I would suggest using wood stain on the cart itself, maybe painting the wheels silver before assembling everything. But then there you go. So what I'm going to do, because I want my cannon to sort of face up, is I'm going to put glue here on the side of the cannon where this sort of axle area is, and here on this side. And then when I slide this into the wagon piece, the cart, I squeeze the sides together, and I just hold it there for a second, squeezing the sides down onto it. And there we go. Now I have a cannon that sort of faces up a little bit. And you can see it sort of lifts up off the cart a little bit underneath, but that's fine. That's how I want it to look. So there we go. There's your cannon assembly.